Dr. Ashok Verma is an illustrious alumnus of IIT Kharagpur. Currently, he serves as a senior flight dynamics engineer at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center and Omitron Incorporation. With expertise in aerospace and orbit determination, Dr. Ashok has made significant contribution to planetary geodesy and radar astronomy during his tenure at the University of California, Los Angeles. Notably, an asteroid has been named in his honor, recognizing his remarkable impact in this field. We are honored to welcome Dr. Ashok to the Conversations of KGPians. Welcome, sir.
Thank you guys, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, if at any moment, at any place, we do some mistake, you can openly point us out on that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you will not because you are ITN. So I firmly believe on you.
Sir, sir, you have achieved a lot. Sir, you have the best recognitions from the NASA, like an asteroid got named after you. Then you got a Silver Group Achievement Award. Sir, so how this journey from IIT Kharagpur, then to UCLA, then to NASA, then to get all this recognition, how that happened, and did you ever dream of this?
Yeah, be honest, no, I never dreamed of for getting any award for sure. And but now talk about the journey because I think that's the question I come across all the time. And whenever I got interviewed from other, because I think it's a very genuine curiosity, for many folks, right? So yeah, so I'll start my journey. Don't want to go back in time, but especially starting with Kharagpur because you basically we are Kharagpur alumni, right? So yeah, so I was in Kharagpur and I still remember my first step I put on, my first step when I just tap in Kharagpur, which was like kind of a dream comes true for sure. And I think it's not only me, and there are thousands and thousands of students, those who step in for the first time in Kharagpur and they say, oh, wow, wow, that's really dreams come true, right? And I was, especially I'm one of them, right? And I think most of the part is done because I for my particularly I believe once you get in this kind of elite institute, things work by itself, because you did most of the hard work. You just get in now. You are yeah, you already a very step ahead from other kids for sure. And then at the same time you get the best institute to work with, so it's a very deadly cocktail, and then people can achieve whatever they want because you have the platform. So that thing in my mind, I was very dedicated, because for me it was an opportunity. And so for my initial I got 10 CGPA, perfect CGPA, and which yeah, which was quite insane. And then once I get the 10 CGPA, then I had an opportunity to choose whatever the project I want to be, right? So I chose a project in aerospace department. At that time, I think at that time India had, I think it was a Chandrayaan 1 era actually at that point. So luckily we had a project in aerospace department, which we do some like basic orbit determination of Chandrayaan 1, and to do and some gravity field investigation. This kind of project was there, if I roughly remember, which really kicks me in because at that point Chandrayaan 1 was all over the news, and since I'm like a space enthusiast, I thought, okay, that's the project. Maybe if I get in there, and then I went to professor, aerospace professor. His name is like yeah, Professor Sina, Manoranjan Sina, I guess. And I think nowadays he's the head of aerospace department. And I went to him and hey sir, I want to do project under you, and I heard like Chandrayaan 1 and say, okay, but why should I hire you? Well, I have 10 CGP. Well, oh, come on in. so so yeah, and that's the thing, and things happen, and then I start working on this mission. I barely had, because I was trained as an aeronautical engineer, not aerospace, aeronautical engineer, which is different than aerospace engineer, because I trained as an like how aeroplane works and all those kinds. So orbital mechanics was pretty new to me, but it was a kick. Be honest, it was a kick, And then I say, hey, the space looks pretty awesome and pretty challenging, and I finished my degree there, and I think all of my semester I had 10 out of 10 CGP, except only one semester I got 9 point something. So yeah, overall, then I end up getting silver award from IIT, the president silver award from IIT Kharagpur, and got placement. Went out as usual, like everybody does, just because at that point, I never thought of doing any PhD because I'm done with studies. Just move ahead and just get to the real world. However, my professor right there in IIT, they were just forcing me, hey, no, you should do the PhD. And I said, no, that's not for me actually. Better let me do some real world things. And then I was lucky to get campus placement, and I think and then I went to Bangalore. I joined some private company there. Oh man, be honest, I worked like a 2 or 3 months, and then okay, now that's not for me for sure. Yeah, and then I said, okay, that's not for me, and I literally have to find something else because that's not something I imagine my life. Just go every single day 9 to 5 and do some work which somebody else telling me to do. Which probably I don't have any fully interest in. And since I worked on Chandrayaan 1, I got an opportunity to work with French Space Agency actually. So in France, there was some program where they were looking for candidate which have some experience with orbital mechanics, but initial experience with orbital mechanics, but they have their own missions to work on. I applied that, and I would say I was lucky enough, and they selected me. And then just after 3 months of my work with the industry, I simply resigned it and flew to France. And there I joined French Space Agency, and I think there is the real thing starts in. I was a graduate researcher there, and I got also enrolled in the university because it was a research program, and thereafter I got the PhD. So I finished my PhD in 2.5 years. Just because it's really because I really wanted to do it, right? This kind of thing. And as I said, like when you are really into the topics which you really love, you don't even know what you are doing, because you just go with the flow, and then you will see things happen. Everything will become artifacts afterwards, right? So I finished my PhD literally in 2.5 years, and then I had an opportunity to work with a couple of real missions actually. And one of the mission I worked on, like a messenger. The messenger was like the first NASA mission which went to Mercury, and which orbit Mercury, which is the closest planet to our sun. So it was really challenging, and that was my PhD work actually. And then it was very challenging, but I really enjoyed it and made a couple of publications. And then I said, hey man, I'm very far from NASA, but the NASA do very cool things. It looks like it's really really challenging and cool things. So that's where I just then NASA pops up, and I think I should be looking, because once you step forward, then the path will open, and then you think a little bit broad and try to achieve more which you never even thought of, right? So yeah, just and then indeed after my PhD, I they proposed me a permanent position at France, but I declined. Instead, I applied for a postdoc position at JPL. JPL is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, one of the NASA center. But I wasn't lucky enough at that point, and I got declined because there was a shutdown. And once there is a shutdown in the United States, everything, just all the funding go away, just boom. And I didn't get it. But I think everything happened for good, And then I joined UCLA, and I think everybody knows that UCLA is also one of the elite institute in the world, and I think there is the one where I had opportunity to work on a couple of very different projects, which include of course the space missions, excuse me, and as well as some asteroids dynamics work. And I joined as a postdoc, but quite rapidly, I think within a year or so, I got a scientist position there, and since then I was there. And then to NASA, but NASA was always in my mind. But be honest, I mean, getting into NASA is kind of little tricky because of the immigration status you have, right? So imagine that. if somebody outsider want to work at ISRO, and ISRO always give not always, but it's always for citizens because it's a federal agency, right? The same work with the NASA is a federal agency, and only the citizenship or sometime like the permanent residents can get in, but for foreign national is always a challenge, except for JPL though, because JPL is little different than NASA center because it's not really a federal agency. JPL is affiliated to NASA, but it's not a federal agency. So the JPL in that sense is quite open for foreigner, but again, if it's a quite open foreigner, but it's foreigner, I'm talking about the entire world, and everybody, those who are in this field, really want to get in there, right? So it was a bit challenging, but as soon as I got my permanent residency in the United States, within 2 months, then NASA called me, and then I just joined, and now I'm working at Goddard Space Flight Center is one of the biggest center of NASA, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, and all the awards you receive along the way, they are, as I said, it's all the artifacts you work. I never ever dreamed of those awards. Of course, I dreamed of to work at NASA, but not of those awards. But I think if your dreams are high, you work very hard, and all of the awards you receive along the way, it really facilitate to your journey, I guess. And that's what happened actually. Yeah. So that's my journey. Yeah.
So, how is your life now? Like, how does a day in the life of a NASA scientist look like?
Well, I can talk about myself, but it's depend upon actually whom you are asking, first of all. But the fact that I can definitely talk by myself. So it's be honest, it's quite busy. So I'm just giving a very top level overview, and then every single day we have loads of meeting, and the meeting in the sense that we want to make sure all our team members are on the same page, because the most of the peoples are very smart here, actually extremely smart here, and working in couple of projects at the same time, but we want to make sure all the projects are going in the flow they want it to we want it to be, right? So for that reason we have a couple of meetings, and also we do real-time operations. And the real-time operation, I means like we are flying some satellites, and then we do real-time orbit determination for those satellites. So once yeah, so but that doesn't happen every single day, but when we happen, then we are quite busy for all the operations, because we want to well, the goal is to keep flying the satellites where it is, and make sure it follow the orbit we wanted it to be. And if when we are not doing any operation, then there are loads of analysis work which is basically related to upcoming missions, or also for the new development or technology development, which to improve our current procedures for the missions we are currently flying in, right? So those kind of analysis work is yeah, those kind of analysis work along with operations and meetings. Yeah, that's a very top level overview, I guess. It's quite
That's
busy,
quite
I say.
so that's quite busy and very interesting for a space enthusiast and like you said.
Right. Oh yeah, it's busy in a good way, I guess. It's not like a busy, oh man, I'm tired too much. No, it's a busy in a good way, and by the end of the day, it really give you like we never. I would say like, like put me in the other way. I mean, it's a busy, maybe physically, but never mentally. You enjoy it. You physically, yes, you sitting like 8 hours on the chair. Of course you get physically. We are human, right? But mentally, no, it's keep you awake. And because there is no chance of error. That's, in other words, I can put, right. When you're flying satellite, there is no chance of errors, right? So no, so you have to your mind needs to be awake at all time. So yeah, so it's a busy in a good way.
So, that's great, sir. Sir, moving on, sir, you spent a couple of years, spent years at the IIT Kharagpur. How were those years? How was your IIT campus life at that time?
Yeah, those were the days, man. Yeah, those were the days. I really miss those days. We made a very good friend, I think, and we are still in touch. In fact, we have a WhatsApp group, IIT KGPians, for that batch. So yeah, we are still in touch. And those were the day I really miss. Well, when I was in IIT, when I wasn't doing anything, you can find me in Gymkhana. That was my best place. You know, yeah, and because I was doing like a full time bodybuilding there, because it's I got a lot of opportunities there, man. Because and then I thought, okay, let's do some bodybuilding stuff, and I spent a lot of time in Gymkhana, and then I think by the I was living at Triple M Hall. I'm not sure if it's still around or it called something else. It's still there, I guess, right?
Still there, sir. Still
Yeah,
there, sir.
okay. Yeah, and at that time it was one of the best halls among entire Kharagpur, I guess. And yeah, and then we were fortunate enough to get one room there, so all of our batchmates were there. And then yeah, and then I think most of our daily life was after dinner. We used to walk to Tech Market, it called, I guess, right? Tech Market.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I still remember very blurry. Yeah, Tech Market, and then we have cup of tea and all those kind of conversation. Oh man, those were the days. So yeah, I really miss that, and biking everywhere. That's also one of the experience. Like you always remember those things. Yeah, and yeah, and I think another adda, I would say, we had like a electrical department. There was a tea stall. That was the only tea stall I found in the entire IT, who those who made like tea with ginger. Oh man, it's you have to stand in a queue during like a cold days, because he was like really good tea maker. And that, I think, that was on like electrical department, I guess. It was electrical department. Yeah, not sure if it's still around, but yeah. So I have pretty sweet memories. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that
Then
was
how
really nice.
IIT has changed, by the way, because I passed out in 2010. It's 13, 14 years. How so you are like pretty new alumni, I guess, right? Like you said, like 2 years ago, right? 2 or
Yes,
3 years
sir.
ago, you.
Sir, we have joined in 2021, sir. So
Oh, you
we
joined.
are
You're
just,
still in IIT.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
we
We are
are
still
third
in.
year
Oh, I
students.
saw. I thought you are alumni. Okay, my bad. Okay, you're still in IIT. Okay, cool. Yeah, because now I changed my total perspective. I thought you were also alumni. Okay, cool. Okay.
So,
Okay, so
sir,
how's the IT
basically, we
now? Actually, I can ask you now. How's the IT right now? I mean, is something has changed? Like very something, or like a new buildings or new departments or something?
sir, we don't have that. We don't are that much fortunate that we have the tea with the ginger inside the campus. And,
Did,
sir,
did you
then we
try,
have,
by the way, electrical department? Just try it, actually. Did you
sir.
try?
I
I
guess the
think
shop.
it was at that time it was like a ground floor. I'm pretty sure it was electrical department. Yeah, it was in front of mathematics or physics department, I guess. Yeah, there's a library, and behind the library you have a couple of department. I think the first department, I think it's electrical department, I believe. Yeah,
Sir, I guess
so
the
yeah, try
shop
it.
has been shifted somewhere. Sir, I think
Say it
the
again.
shop has been shifted somewhere.
Well, why not? I mean, it's 13 years. I'm just talking about like 13 years back. So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Then there are two new halls which are in the process. One has already uh, ready, the Savitri Bai Phule Hall of Residence, and then one other hall is being in the process right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. And where are they building it?
So they are building it near the Nalanda build
I see.
classroom complex.
Yeah. Okay. We are expanding. Yeah.
Yes.
Number
Cool.
of students has also increased. That's why it was important for that. Rest other
Yeah.
than like general championship, still it goes the same way, the same level of competencies with between the hall of residences. Yeah, that stays.
Well, I don't remember actually one. I don't. I remember it very blurry. Like at that time when I was in IIT, there was a one. What to get? There was one fest. I don't know if it's called festival or what. When like there is a hall wise, they decorate their hall and they invite other folks to come in their hall and have some party, and then other hall do the same thing and they invite their friends. Do we do that again? I mean, right now
Yeah.
nowadays
Yes,
as
sir.
well.
Yes, sir.
What
Sir,
it called, by the
holidays.
way? Holidays,
Holidays.
yeah. Okay, holidays. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love those time actually, Yeah, the free food, go, and meet with friends. And since we are in Triple M Hall, nobody wants to come in there because they were always jealous. Hey, you have a pretty pretty good hall. I mean, yeah, that's why I come in here. That's why we invited you. You just come in here and be jealous. Yeah. So at that time it was the best hall. Yeah. Yeah, and there is a annual Kshitij, or what
Yes,
Kshitij,
sir.
right? We still have,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yeah.
did they change
Yes,
the name?
It's
sir.
Kshitij.
It's Kshitij,
Kshitij.
right? Yeah, okay. When it happened, by the way? At what time during the year?
January second week, like around
January
19
2nd.
to 21. That.
Yeah, that is also one of the best thing, when you're in IIT and for those kind of things. Yeah. So yeah, still remember something.
Yes.
Great.
So, Napreet,
So, sir, you have worked on very esteemed projects at NASA. So, would you like to mention some of the challenges you faced and some exciting projects that you worked on?
Uh, yes, why not? Let me think. So I think I can give you a two very extreme examples, and why I want to pick those examples because I am co-leading the navigation team for those particular missions, and one is James Webb, JWST, as you know in short from the. So I am a co-lead for navigation team for JWST, and the JWST itself, if you're not sure how much you follow, but it's a masterpiece for engineering. If you are an engineer, it's this is the thing. You can imagine what you imagine you can build. So this is literally a masterpiece because since that satellite is very far in space, that the point it called Lagrange point is like a, and it's very far in space, like a millions kilometers. So it's there. So but what happens is when you are so far in space, then you are exposed to so much solar radiations, right? Because you are far from Earth but maybe closer to the sun, so you might expose more sun radiation. And to protect the instrument for the James Webb, they build a very giant sun shield, which is basically roughly a size of tennis court. So imagine that a big a big piece of that satellite compact in a rocket. So you can think of about an umbrella. You just switch that off. It just compact, and then when the rain comes, you just uh, make it big, right? So it get expand, and we are expecting the same thing the machine will do remotely, because when you are in the rocket you can't put the full size a tennis court size of satellite in a rocket. So you have to make in a way that it contract, and when it's a time it just expand, right? So that's a masterpiece. And they have like a tons and tons of engineering or like mechanical components. Anything could go wrong, anything, because there are like hundreds. There were like so many possibility, anything could go, and but nothing went wrong. So that's what I call it masterpiece. So it went there, and then it expand its like span like the sun shield. And luckily our team is the navigator for a real time, start from the launch to put the satellites there, and now we are flying it. And you were talking about the challenges. So challenges, I would say, like, since it has a very big sun shield, so imagine that, like, this is the part which the sun is facing, and the other part we have the instrument, and the temperature between this and this is ridiculously high difference. I'm saying temperature difference, because the instruments needs to be in a cold temperature, and in order to maintain that cold temperature you have to put a sun shield, so that sun won't impact those instruments because they are super sensitive. However, the drawbacks with that, if the sun shield is always facing the sun, it puts so much pressure on the satellite, and which we call in solar radiation pressure, and that pressure will alter the satellite orbit. So if we are expecting satellite hit here, if we do not model it properly, it can decay very slowly, and then it go out of control, and then we don't know where the satellite is. So we have to. So we that was a big challenge. First challenge was the mechanical. That wasn't my department. The other team which build the stuff, but it was built here at Goddard. And but the second challenge, the main one of the main challenge was the navigation of that big giant machine or big giant robot, right? And but as I said, here at NASA, the people are very much capable of, and then we are flying it with the flying colors, and so we were able to overcome all of those solar problems with the high fidelity solar radiation model. We model those forces and try to counter whatever the force is getting into the satellites. We try to model those, and now it's flying, and everything's is history nowadays, and every single day, if you follow the news, the JWST is discovering something new, because it has like a high resolution infrared system there, right? Which
Mm.
was, I think that is for the first time we have that high resolution infrared on any observatory in the space observatory, and it is scanning the sky like with a very high resolution, and it already made some discoveries, and I'm pretty sure, I'm very sure in near future or even the far future there will be more discoveries to come. And now, so that's a big giant. And now I want to talk about the other very interesting project that's called Snoopy. Snoopy is the CubeSat. So CubeSat is a new technology, like a very small satellites, and you can think of the CubeSat is the yeah, if I give you a reference, the size of that satellite is the loaves, like a two bread packets. If you join together, that's the size of satellite. So one day we are navigating like a big giant machine, and the other day we are just navigating that small, like a small piece, literally two loaves of bread. And the challenge with that is that small satellite is very close to our Earth atmosphere. It's flying around 400-ish kilometers from the surface. So if you are that close to the Earth's surface, then you don't feel those so many solar. Still feel solar radiation pressure, but I think the more important force is the drag, like the drag force, like what your car face when you go, and then you will see some the air is blowing towards you. Exactly, the satellite is facing almost the same thing, right? So modeling that is a very big challenge, because at that time, if you want to model all those things, you should know first of all where the satellite is, and also what the atmospheric density or content of your atmosphere during at the place where the satellite is, so that you can model it properly. So these are the challenges we see every single day. But as I said, the team is very capable, and we just overcome all of those challenges. But I think that the takeaway I would say here is that no matter how experienced you are, no matter how smart you are, every single day when we are in operation, we learn something new, because space is still very is a mysterious space, right? So we learn something new every single day. So that's the beauty. Like you think, oh, I probably know everything, I have tons of experience, and then when the real problem pops in, oops, I think I still have to go back and look at the books and just find some solution which may not be obvious at that point, right? So those kind of things. Yeah, and these are the two extreme projects. And I also worked on another mission which called Europa Clipper. That was also very, not sure how much familiar you are. So the Europa is one of Jupiter's moon, and
Mm.
scientists believe that we have an ocean there, which ocean, a liquid water ocean, which is even the bigger. If you compare the size, is bigger than what we have on our Earth, right? So which is itself is very exciting discovery. And I think NASA is flying a satellite, I think later this year, to visit Europe. And when I was at UCLA, I was leading some gravity science analysis for some point for some years. And the job was to see if through the gravity can we find out if there is an ocean underneath. So that was exciting. That's how exciting. And I think when when the satellite will reach Europa, I think there will be a very fascinating discovery. Because if we were able to say, hey, we found an ocean, then it's very likely that we may have life there. And if you have the life there, it may be a discovery of the decade, I don't know, or maybe of the century, I don't know. Because if you find a life outside from our Earth, that's already a big thing, right? So I had a privilege to work on that when I was at UCLA. Yeah.
That's great, sir. So many exciting things that you have done. Sir, you have worked on the JSW as a navigation operations. Sir, so sir, the Dr. Rajan Sinha, another KGPN is there worked on the JWST on the Ariane rocket. So did you meet him, sir, during the?
Not in person, not sure. No, I did not. Yeah. Well, I didn't even know them. Some other KGPNs are around. I really, I would love to meet him, but not, unfortunately, not so far. Yeah. If you have his
Okay, sir.
contact, then yeah, please shoot me.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes. So, also, sir, you have worked on the lunar exploration mission. There have been news floating around the space agencies trying to use the moon as the stopping point for the other major upcoming missions. So, is this true? And like, what are your viewpoints on that?
Yeah, well, true or false? Well, this. I would say, if you think about if it's possible, then I would say yeah, it's possible. I think, but we are very in preliminary thinking, I guess. So I think when we say like the stoppage is basically about is basically about refueling things. You think like, hey, I want to drive from Delhi to Mumbai, but I want to refuel my car somewhere. Okay, why not? Whenever you find the gas station, right? So it's basically that thing. That's an idea. Ki, hey, we fly from here, we go to the moon, and we spend a lot of fuel there. But what if you want to go there? Why don't we set up some system there so that we can land in there and refuel the system and go even further out in space? But that sounded interesting. But how you gonna get the fuel in there? That's the place. Because here we dig, and then there's a lot of process to do, and then get the fuel. But it may not be very straightforward there. So people were thinking like they found a water, like I think the icy water is somewhere in the southern pole. And those were not a drinkable water. So what the idea was is to break those water molecule to hydrogen to oxygen, and use that hydrogen to be an as a as a propellant. So that's an idea. So that's a very I think interesting, but very pessimist and very far in future. Because we first, to do all of those things, we first have to send someone there, or at least astronauts to do as dig something and get the sample back in there, and just to make sure what we think is the thing, right? So the NASA is working on not sure if you follow, is the Artemis mission. Artemis is the fleet of couple of series. We flew, I think, the last year Artemis 1, which was a one of the biggest rocket ever flew from Earth. So idea was to send an astronaut on that rocket at some point. So last time we sent a capsule only, which orbit around the moon and come back to, and the landed to come back to Earth, right? So the next step for the Artemis fleet is to send an astronaut, but they're not gonna land it, but they again go around the moon and come back. But the third step, the third Artemis 3, would be to send them. They're gonna land on the moon like we did like a 50, 60 years ago. We're gonna land on the moon, and then they come back and hopefully gather some samples, and then study thoroughly. And then but these are the things. And then the fact that the beauty with the science and engineering, there is no limitation. You think that the things, that the ideas are the important, right? How you shape them, that's always a lot of work. But I think the first step is to get a novel idea, right? So once you have an idea, people gather, because there are very smart people around. All people work together, have many ideas, and then they go from there, right? So I think the first step is to get an idea, and that idea is already there. So yeah, I believe it may be possible, but not in very near future.
Loved, sir. I love, sir, discussing space science, sir. Sir, it's a great thing that you shared a lot of insights from there. As a NASA scientist, your perception is totally different from what we are able to see. We are just going through the news and thinking that this thing is gonna happen in this like, very soon, or you give an exact view how the things work. Sir,
Yeah.
in India, sir, in India, there is a discussion between there is a discussion of ISRO and NASA, how ISRO works and how NASA works. Sir, so what are your views on it about ISRO and NASA?
Yeah, so well, they ISRO and NASA, they both are very different entities, I guess. They both have their own goals. So it's not, we can't compare like, hey, how much you achieve and how much you achieve. You both have different goals in your life. You can't have the same goals and and the follow the same path. Everybody has their own goals. So like in particular in ISRO, for my in my understanding, in my point of view, I may be wrong though. The idea is for they are more they are master in commercial space, because they fly so many satellites for other countries as well, for a communication purpose and all those kind of things. So they are more commercial. But now I think they have done very remarkable job, when they try to land on the moon, and their Mangalyaan mission, and quite recently they sent Aditya missions, so yeah, they are expanding in exponential growth. So that's a very it always motivate me, and is always I feel very good about it. But if you look at the NASA side, NASA is I think is a little bit kind of a mature baby, I would say, because they have done so many mission, and well, mission, ISRO also had so many mission, but NASA is the goal is little bit maybe little different, because they are more exploration. NASA's goal is more exploration, like they do human exploration, like human space exploration, deep space exploration, and the earth exploration are science. But in fact, in when we are talking about the earth exploration, there are joint projects from between NASA and ISRO, where both work together and do their joint science project. So I would say, I mean, I'm not the good person to compare which is, but all I can say is both have their different goals, and both are a very prestigious space agency from around the world, and for their country as well. So yeah, so I always see good. I always have good vibes when we see, like, ISRO is doing. I think nowadays they are trying to build a reusable vehicle. I guess that would be awesome.
Yes, sir.
That would be awesome. So yeah, I mean, they are expanding like anything, I guess. So it's always good.
And so in this upcoming age of artificial intelligence and 3D printing, like how that affects the space industry. And
So well, in particular in 3D printing, I would say it's that 3D printing is already there for quite some time, right? And I think not I think, but I firmly believe that some of the satellite components are already using 3D printing capability, right? May not be the entire satellite, because, as I said, when you are dealing with space, everything is very sensitive. So we can't build everything in 3D, but there are some components which indeed can be built, like internal components which are not exposed to the space. For instance, can be built with 3D, and people are doing so. It's not very new concept. But for AI is, as I think now all the world know, like AI is very powerful, but needs to be handled with care, right? So it's a powerful with care. So for as far as space industry is concerned, from my personal view, I think it's not mature enough to handle everything with AI, because of the nature of the problem. The space problems, like it's a very it's a rocket science, actually. So right, so AI eventually may take over, but not anytime soon. At least for the space industry, that what I think. But the fact that people were thinking of implementing AI in some way or another, so that the space industry is not feeling far behind with the technology. So that's the idea. If AI can facilitate things, why not just implement the AI? But the fact that we need to be make sure AIs have that level which can meet the requirement, because everything here is the requirement. If you meet that requirements, and then of course why not, we can use it. But I think it's for AI is little early, but it will be there at some point, I guess. That's my thought.
Sir, you have been into the space industry for so many years. You have worked with the NASA. So, and then with the so many startups, space tech startups are happening in India. Like you were talking about the 3D printing, sir. So 2 days back, Agnikul launched a full-fledged 3D rocket by himself. Then we have Skyroot, a major. They are the two major players in the our Indian space tech sector. Sir, so how do you think the upcoming age of space tech startups will change the entire space tech?
Most definitely, I would say. I think I can't be more. Uh, I can't be more. I mean, I would say. I'm just looking at the word what I say, but all I'm saying, like, it's a very good thing, I guess, for the space industry in general, because the fact that if I give you an example at NASA here, um, NASA work quite intensively with public and private partnership, right? Very heavily depend upon, actually, I very heavily depend upon a private partnership. But I think that wasn't the opportunity in India. So the ISRO has to do every single thing by their own, right? Which, like, for example, if you say, if there is no professor in the class and say, hey, read the books, and I will just give you questions, you will eventually get there, but it might take longer time, right? And that I think that was the case when the space exploration itself was a very expensive game, right? And it's having a startup on the space is already a very big thinking, I guess. And I think thanks to all the companies, those who are stepping forward, right? So if they are doing their work, and if they're doing everything in partnership, I think they will grow like exponentially, right? So it's I think it's a very good thing, for not only for India, for a worldwide. If the space industries are coming all together, for example, in the United States, there are SpaceX, right? You might heard about SpaceX. So even almost all the NASA missions are using SpaceX rockets. They are not using NASA rockets anymore, because SpaceX has better technology for rockets. So many of the NASA mission is using SpaceX rockets because they are cheaper. And at the same time, there is a Blue Origin, another
Yes,
big company here in the United States, which is now working on space tourism. That's a different concept, to space tourism, and also building some tourism to the moon, or maybe building some sites on the moon. So those kind of things. But if NASA had to do everything by themselves, it may not be possible, or maybe possible with might take like a 50 years to go. But if everybody's, we are giving small chunk to you, and I'm working on small chunk, and if you build up things together, then you will see that results will be very good, and as well as very quick. So I think it's a setup in India is a very leap forward.
sir, you talked about space tourism just now. Sir, there is a lot of space debris getting collected in the orbit of the Earth. So, how the space tourism will, how the space tourism will work if there is a lot of space debris is getting collected. There are a lot of new satellites are getting launched by for the Starlinks, and a lot of things are happening in the space. So we have so much space debris. So how the things will work after that?
Yeah, so space debris is always a problem, right? So we can't deny it. But the fact that basically in our department, we have another department called Kara, which track all the debris they can. So for example, every satellite we launch, So we predefine any trajectory. We know that where we want to go, and then we work with them. I say, hey, we are flying this way. Tell me if there is some debris on the way, and then they do their analysis, very like highly complex analysis, and they say, oh no, you are good. You can just go forward on that. So those kind of things are being tracked. It's not like they are left alone. They are being tracked, but I can't be assured that everything is being tracked, because all what we are doing is here running a mathematical model, right? And we need to trust them because they are working so far uh, quite fine. And when I'm talking about the space tourism, we are not going that far in space, by the way, just to give you a hint that, so space is basically you just go a little bit above the atmosphere layer, where you basically feel like a free floating body. That's a space. That's not where we fly our satellite is much more higher than that altitude. The space tourism is just to get that boundary, past that boundary, where you feel like you are no gravity, like a free float for some, I'm not sure, depend upon the, but I think people did that last year through blue region. They went there, have some, they just float for a couple of seconds or maybe a minute or so. I don't remember the details, and then they just come back. So, and all the debris, if you have somewhere else, they're gonna burn, because on the other, because the atmosphere is super thick, right? So once you come down, if there are small debris, they will just, that's not a problem. But if you go in space when there is no atmosphere, those debris flow there forever, right? But people are aware of it. It's not left alone, and it's being tracked. And I would say most of them being tracked. But if I would say, if you are extremely unlucky, then you never know the things. But yeah, but people are very careful about that. You can't fly mission without knowing where you are going and what are the hurdles you have on your path. So yeah, so they're being tracked.
Okay, sir. So that's a great insight, sir. Sir, when we tell everyone that we are going to interview you, and a NASA guy, and then you have an asteroid named after you. So there were so many questions that came from them. So just we selected just a few of them. So they were asking for the suggestions. So just the first question was, how can someone get into the NASA?
That's the question I come across all the time. So I believe they are not the only one. So I believe, in your perspective, I think you are talking about Indian students, those who are working in Indian
Yes,
institutes.
sir.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So be honest with you, if you're working at the Indian institutes, might be a tricky, because of the, if you are literally looking for the working at NASA just after freshly graduate from your IIT, let's say, and then say, hey, I can go in there. Think about, give you an example, like think about an ISRO. Like somebody's studying at the United States, and they say, hey, I want to work in ISRO. They won't allow you because there are some restriction to the citizenships, right? So the NASA, they are is the federal agency. We have too many restriction for citizenships, or for but you see what I mean? I mean, there are the citizens immigration is probably the biggest hurdle, not your qualification. You probably maybe overqualify or good qualified candidate, but the problem is the biggest hurdle would always be immigration, right? So, but the things is little different at JPL. As I mentioned before, JPL is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is one of the NASA center, which is not a federal agency. It is affiliated to NASA, but it's not a federal agency. Since it's not a federal agency, and this is the only agency I believe which is not federal but still being associated with NASA. So they have more opportunity than any other I would say center of NASA center, right? So I would suggest, like, if you are a fresh graduate, look after JPL opportunity page, and then go from there. Uh, and for other centers, I think, in my understanding, says that you might need citizenships for most, maybe 99% of the jobs, or permanent residency. You just because they are because imagine that it's a very sensitive area of work. It's a technology. So it's a very sensitive area. When you are dealing with space, it's very sensitive. So they for a technology transfer or the knowledge transfer, they have some restriction. And it's not only nothing to do with NASA. It's the same goes for ISRO as well, and for other space agencies around the world. This very restricted to the citizenship. But if you really want to go in there, I would say the best path forward would be do some higher studies. And if you have an opportunity to do some like PhD level studies, then what happen is there are some institutes within the night. So like let's say you did your PhD at well, if you do everything in India, then again hurdle will always remain as an immigration. But I'm saying I'm giving an example. Let's say you did PhD in here, but at least do something outside, right? Let's say you did PhD here. After PhD, you do some a postdoc. They call postdoctorate. So it's a kind of gaining some experience, a real time experience. They call it postdoctorate after PhD. So let's say you join some UCLA, let's say you join UCLA or Caltech or whatever the institution you are interested in. You join there, and then most of the university, not most, but many of the universities work very closely with NASA. Because there are so many NASA projects, and people like the university write proposals. They send proposal to NASA, and NASA say yes, you've been selected. Okay, we are giving you funding. So then you build the connection. You see what I mean? So all you want to build a bridge between what you have on your disposal and how you can connect to NASA. So once you have that bridge running, then I'm pretty sure you will find the path. So that's the way I came in. That all I'm saying, because that's a way, because I know I wasn't in that way, right? I was at UCLA, worked couple of years there, and worked with live NASA missions, but could not get to NASA because I wasn't a citizen, right? I wasn't the permanent residence. So as soon as I got my permanent residency, I got hired within a 2 or 3 months. So that's the thing, right? So that's the one way. Other way is another way is not other way. Another way would be, as I said, like NASA is working very closely with private partnerships, the private companies. So it could be possible that you end up joining a company which is have a direct relationship with NASA, and then you work with the company, but they put you in NASA center, and then you are full NASA employee. Those kinds of they are workaround, but you need to explore, and you need to be in the United States for that. But I would say, I mean, it would be little. I'd say it's not impossible, but it would be tricky. Then some employer will directly hire you and then sponsor you a green card, which is very extremely rare, I would say. Yeah. So if you have a one qualification, high level qualification, if from any American institutes, then I think the chance you might have more chance to join in.
So that's great advice, sir, from an experienced person. Sir, so how could someone get an internship at NASA? So that was also another question.
Yes, and I think that's the exactly the same answer, I would say. I mean, since if you are directly looking for intern right from Indian institutes and directly to NASA, so I think, as I said, that qualification is never a problem. You guys are very well qualified, right? But look at the other side of the table. We want to welcome you, but there is an immigration, because then people say, yeah, we can't allow foreign national to come in there. But again, that thing might change. Let's say you did your master, you excuse me, let's say you did your bachelor's here, and then you move to Caltech for doing your masters, and then you are looking for internship. Even though you are a foreign national, you through the affiliation of your American institutes, you have a possibility to join as an internship. In fact, I would say, like, just last week we hired two interns. Last week, just 200. But as once you're like an NASA intern, then there are like tons of applications, and then you need to scroll through and then find the candidates which match their interest as well as our interest, and then we just end up hiring two interns quite recently, and they're going to join next week. So yeah, but I think everything. I mean, you see some folks there like, hey, Ashok is working at NASA, and somebody X and Y is working at Google and in the Facebook and wherever, right? We see the last destination they are in there, but we never follow how they have been there, right? So I think that's the point you want to explore with this kind of meeting to alumni, so say that they can say that, hey, I was here and that was my path. And I said, hey, I am here at NASA. So if somebody wants to be, at least I can't say anything else, but I say why I went there, right? So maybe that could be a similar path somebody can else take, and end up, if NASA would be their dream of working, one of their dream, then that could be one of the way. And it not necessarily for NASA, but for any other big industries, who whatever they want to dream of. But I think it's again, and of course, I said that IIT have a rich uh, alumni, like a rich. There are so many alumni, those who are like almost everywhere in the field. Just try to contact them, man. I mean, it never harm. Just try to contact them, express your feeling. Hey, whoever, I look your profile and look like, I also want to be. That's the thing I want to do. Can you please give me some guidance, how to proceed and what would be the path forward for me? My background is this. I'm interested in this. Would that suit to my career? So I think as an ITN alumni, I always reply to folks because I get tons of messages every single day, right? You can imagine. So and then I try to reply them as much as I can. And but the fact that if somebody give you an advice, try to take them seriously, and then if you are serious about it, then I think everything is possible. If we can do it, everybody can do it. That's the thing. There's nothing special about it. Yeah, but it
Yeah,
can be challenging for any foreign nationals to directly come and join NASA, except for JPL though. So that's I'm again saying, if you're interested, go to JPL website and looks for the opportunities. There's a career page. They keep hiring. They always hire interns, and nowadays is the intern season in the United States because the summer vacations, is around the corner, and people are now hiring interns. So but I think the application may be closed for this season, I guess, because we already hired. But for the next year, let's say, just keep eye on, make your solid CV, make a cover letter by saying that, hey, the idea is sell yourself and say, hey, why should I hire you? First of thing, like if I have one position and I got two letter from one from you and one from you, and then you need to sell yourself, okay, why I think I should hire you. And not only hire, but at least first interview, because most of the candidate will go away even in the like in the selection procedure, because we get like a 20 application, we only end up calling 5 candidates, and we're gonna hire one or two, right? So this made your CV like a strong, which like a eye catching, and never hesitate to put whatever the small and a big achievement you had made in your life. Nothing is small and nothing is big, maybe small for you, but it might be big for someone else, right? So getting into the IIT is already a big thing, right? So you just mentioned it. Hey, I got blah 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 this area all India rank, and I got IIT, which has I think 0.1% of acceptance rate. So people know that, oh, you, and people know here what is IIT. Most of the people, those I'm talked to, they know. And thanks to our alumni Sundar Pinchai, he's the he's the one in class, right? So through him and then other folks as well, uh, it is shining everywhere, right? So you already have the platform. That's what I'm saying. You guys already have the platform. You just have to find the path, I guess.
right. So, one more question was about the pay scale of NASA, like in comparison to other organizations.
Now I'm sweating.
So, okay, if you like
Now
want
you're
to,
gonna say I don't want to join NASA, right? A pay scale of what?
like NASA, like
Oh, well, so
as
there
a,
is a okay. So I think there's a very misconception here. That's the beauty in the United States. Pay scale is not like very like a fixed rate, right? Like in a government employee, you have yearly you get bonus, you get increment, no matter how good you do, no matter how bad you do, you just you are slowly you are getting there, right? I think the United States is more. That's my personal thinking. It may be different for others though. It's like a more professionalism. Is like you do better, you get higher. You don't do better, you get fired. That's the thing. So it's there is no selected scale, pay scale, but I can tell you they pay handsome. So there's nothing to regret about. But the fact that it's and the pay scale is also depend upon how much experience you have and how much expertise you can bring into the team. If you are the only one who knows some certain things which nobody knows, then of course you are the top candidate, and they pay you high rate than any other employee, even with the same in same experience, because you bring to the team something very different which we don't have expertise in, let's say, right? And then they adjust the pay scale, hey, because you are different, right? They'll say, hey, you are bringing something different to the team. We can't treat them you as the same employee which bring almost the same thing which we already have in there, just to expand the team. No, if you have some very rare qualities, we're gonna pay for it. So that's the thing. So there is no limit. So that's what I'm try to get more knowledge and expertise, and be expert of something, so that you can proudly say, hey sir, I'm an expert in this thing. And not many areas you can find those expertise, so hire me. And then people select your CVs. They of course call you for interview, and then you go for rigorous review, and then say, hey, okay, now you tell me you are expert of this, and then say, okay, tell me something this and something that, and then we go from there, right? So the pay scale, again, as I said, is depend upon your experience. I can't say very definitive number, but yeah, it's depend upon your experience. And they pay good, so that you don't feel left behind, because now, as I said, like there are so many private industries, and then you can jump from one to another, wherever you get more paid, or maybe more experience, or exciting projects, I would say. It's depend. So
Yeah, got it, understood. Also, sir, how much CGPA matters to get an intern or a job at NASA as a NASA scientist?
well, CGPA does matter, be honest with you, right? It's because I think in some of the intern criteria, because here CGPA work a little bit different. I think it's a GPA or something. It
GPA out
out
of
of out
five,
of
grade five,
four, a 4 or 5 or
four.
something. I
Okay,
think four. I think four. So we do have some. They do give you some kind of threshold. Hey, the only applicant which can apply, which has GPA more than 3.5 or 3.75, is pretty high actually. So so yes, it does matter, of course, because if it help, and now I'm talking about as a recruiter, it helps us to know, because let's say if you have hundreds of application and we have two position, we're not gonna go through every single application. We'll say, hey, this we can sort things up very quickly. But hey, you have a 2 GPA, put it aside. Let's see if who have more academic excellence. And because academic excellence is not only you're getting high CGPA, is also how much you understand the things, because you can't, if you are in a higher study, you can't get GPA or CGPA like just doing nothing, right? So you must know something. That's why you can end up having 3.9 or 3.75 or whatever, right? Sometimes work happen like, hey, I did some silly mistake and I cut number, and then I was expecting 3.9 getting, but got 3.7, but that's okay. But if somebody is consistently getting 2.5 and 3 ish, and then there are one folk which is consistently getting 3.5, 3.7, 3.9, then you tell me who you want to choose, right? So it does matter. And sometime it also some time for some applications depend upon the like intern or maybe the job, what kind of job they are looking for. But sometimes they do give you a threshold. Hey, if you have a less than that, you are not even eligible to apply. So yeah, keep focusing on CGPA or GPA. But don't worry much about it, you know. But as I said, build an expertise. You like, hey, I have a 3.5 CGPA, but I bet you can't find this expertise. I am expert on that. Hire me because that aligns with your interest. If let's say if I'm doing orbital mechanics, you know, and doing flight dynamics because we are leader of flight dynamics, then say, so your team is leader of flight dynamics, and I have a flight dynamics skill which I believe is very rare to find in the industries. Please give me a chance to interview, you know, and then that's you put down your in your cover letter, right? You put your cover letter, you say that, hey, I am one of the rare expertise in flight dynamics, and I would like to work with your team or whatever, and then it catches our eyes. Hey, yeah, it looks like its interest aligns with our interest. So always write your CV, your cover letter. It's not about NASA, but I'm just taking in journal, whatever the job you're applying for, and if it aligns to your interest as well and the company's interest as well, just write to, you know, twist some words by saying that that's the expertise you are looking for. I am here, don't go further, hire me or interview me, those kind of things, right? So it really helps how well you write your cover letter, and of course CGPA does matter, but
That was so
not that damn.
okay. So, my last question will be like your advice to all the KGPNs in general, open.
Well, I would say I just want to remind them you guys are smart. So you guys are smart, and don't let that opportunity go away. That's what I can say. I mean, you guys are already very couple of step ahead than many kids in India, because getting in an IT is a dream for many, right? But only few folks can get in. So you guys are already step ahead for many kids, and at the same time, opportunity is given to you through IITs. Now it's up to you how well you can grab those opportunities, right? Nobody in the world can give you a like a this path, he just drive straight and you reach the destination. No, you have to find the path, you have to navigate by yourself. But all what I can say, you had the capability because you are already in IT, you have the platform because you are already in IT. You have to connect those. Don't lost your or lose your concentration in between. There are lots and lots of distraction. So I think my piece of why is there are a lot of distraction. Please stay away from the distraction, because this is the age to fall very easily in distractions, you know, and any kind of distractions. It can be any kind of distraction. So if you are focused with your work and try to avoid the distraction as much as you can, I can bet you can achieve whatever you want. It's this sky is not the limit for ITNs or for KGPNs. I however.
Sir, you said about the distraction, sir. So sometimes what happens? Sir, the distraction is not just the things that doesn't not give a productive work. Sir, sometimes distraction is that I want to do this also. I want to do this also. I don't. I want to do this also. Sir, so how to know which thing I really want to do? So how to figure out this thing, sir?
Yeah, so I mean, if you can't help yourself, nobody can, I guess. I mean, you must prioritize things. For example, like you have a yeah, I would say like you have an exam, you know, and then exam is happening. Well, when we were there, we have an exam in the morning and other exam in the evening. I don't know if that pattern stays the same.
Sir,
Do you have the same?
it's the
Like you
same.
have the,
Sir,
and there is another in the afternoon, like two together. And
yes, sir.
imagine like you have the afternoon session and in the morning session, and then you have a two books and one eye is on this and one eye. So that means you are already losing. There's no way. So that's why strategy is the key, you know. So you know that, hey, the second exam which is come in the afternoon, I have a pretty much very well. I mean, I know that subject pretty well, so I can, even if I spend like a 2 hours a day in for that subject, I should be good. But the one which is having in the morning, I should spend at least 6, because you know your limit. Nobody, you can hide your limits to others, but at least internally we know our limits. I can't say I can do everything within an hour. No, that's ridiculous, right? I know this is my weakness. I know this is my strength. So whatever the strength you have, don't leave your strength behind, but no, do not make your weakness heavy on you, right? So keep working on weakness and keep brushing your strength at the same time. Don't leave it behind, otherwise strength will become weakness at some point if you don't, if you just never touch it, right? So as an example, like if you have like two exams, just focus, give more time management. Actually is basically a time management. So you give more times to whatever you think is more priority you have, and give little less time. And I think it's pretty manageable. I mean, I know, I mean, uh, the very one common thing I see in IITians, especially in the first year. You are like a seniors level now, but in the first year, like, they were very excited to get in the IIT for sure. Why not? Makes sense. But since then, so since they are in IIT, and most of folks I know of, they are kind of topper of their institute or their schools, and in their back. So they were already in our they're already, the morale is very high already, because I was topper. I get into IT. Hey, I nailed it. But now then they see that, hey, other folks you are competing with is also a topper from other state or from other school, right? Now it's like an elite kind of competition, like the topper versus topper or those kind of things. And then it get intense, because everybody is very smart, and not only for folks, like even for the for the professor also, to write an exam, so that, because everybody is smart, and they want to write an exam so that they can fish you, and I'll say, hey, now you are in my net now, you can't get out. But those who are doing a very rigorous study, for example, when I got like a 10 CGPA, it doesn't mean that I was just reading the book whole 24 hours. Nope. But I know what was my strength. I really love solving problems. I know those were my strength, and I hate writing like a paragraph writing. Whenever I hate those, but then I put a lot of efforts in writing answers. I try to understand what is required for me to get a perfect marks. And then I did a lot of practicing for writing. I had a, like, I still remember, I have like a couple of books I got from Tech Market, of course. And then keep writing things, just practice myself so that I can nail down a perfect answer for any questions, those kind of things. But for numerical, for example, I was pretty good on that, so I barely pay much attention it, but I still doing it, but pay less attention, like 1 or 2 hours a day, but 4 or 3 or 4 hours when I have time, just for writing, those kind of things. And then you see I end up having a 10 CGPA. So this is the thing. So it is manageable, but if you are looking at the very end time, then it could be tricky. But still, you have a next semester coming up, so just try to uh, manage your time, I would say. So that's the distraction. So if you have a distraction in a way that, hey, I have a 3 books open, not sure which one I focus on, is not distraction, is I would say it's too late. So distraction is something like, which push you away from the books, and that, hey, I want to study, but my friend says, come on, let's do some party. And of course you do party for sure, you should. I'm not saying that just doing book reading all the time. You should enjoy every single thing, every single bit of being an ITN for sure. But remember that that's the platform, it will never come back. So these are the 4 or 5 years you spend here. I wish you guys make maximum out of it, because that's the time. If you when you pass out from here, the tag will always remain with you, like IT, ITN, and that speaks for you for most of the cases. But the fact that I don't want anyone to be in a situation that, hey, if I would have like spent 1 or 2 years, like 1 year, I would have like put more efforts there, I might have end up in a very good position, right? So you have the platform, you have everything, just make out of it, I guess. That's the advice, I guess, just stay away from the distractions.